So, I did a thing. I bought the PlayStation Portal. So right out the box, this is light. And I wasn't thinking it was gonna be this light because the device looks very clunky, kind of jarring if you will. And yeah, man, I feel like I can hold this for a long time. I can probably even hold it with just like one finger. Not gonna demonstrate that on this video, but nonetheless, very light. And I think I like this, but let me know your opinions on this because there was a lot of opinions when this dropped and they weren't particularly good ones. So let me know what you think after seeing this and after watching me unbox it, and is this something that you can vibe with? I did shoot this video just a little bit different than my usual content just because I wanted to talk to you as if I was talking to one of my friends and recommending this device to them. And I want to let you know at the end of this video who this device is for and if it's really worth it or not. As I mentioned in the first impressions, this device is really light, and after using it for a couple of days, this is one of my favorite devices to game on for a good amount of time. But let's go ahead and take a look at the onboard physical buttons. At first glance, this does just look like a DualSense controller taped to a screen, kind of, if you will. But once you flip it over, you can kind of see the way it looks, and I think it does look nice overall. Was a bit ugly during the initial trailers and teasers for it and when it was first announced, but having it in person, it actually does not look as horrendous as I thought it was going to. With it looking like a DualSense controller, you get your standard buttons, like you get the microphone, you get the PlayStation button, start, I think that's a brightness button right there. You flip it over, you get the volume up and down. Power button, I believe this is a link button for your Sony accessories. At least that's what it looks like to me, the symbol anyways. Once you flip it over, you can get a USB-C charging port there, and then you also get a headphone jack, which is nice, especially in the day and age where a lot of modern devices don't really have headphone jacks, so it is pretty cool to see that there. Nonetheless, I think overall I am a fan of the design. I think it still is a bit quirky and could probably have been done a lot better, but still a fan regardless. On the topic of the controller, this is basically the DualSense controller. Many people have even joked that this is literally a DualSense controller with the screen just put right in the middle of it. And while that is kind of the case, I think the finished touch, in person anyways, is a lot better than what we gave it credit for. But since this is DualSense, you get haptic feedback, you get the adaptive triggers, and of course, you get the vibrations for situations such as in-game choices. So if you're used to the DualSense from the PlayStation 5, then you're gonna like this a lot. You get an 8-inch screen, LCD, not OLED, so you're not going to get those inky blacks and those bright colors. But for an LCD screen, this is pretty good, and you're going to see the quality of it when I showcase some footage in a second. You're not going to get like 144 Hz refresh rates or even 120 Hz like the Asus ROG Alloy, but you still get 60 FPS and it's at 1080p. Real quick, I just wanted to compare the PlayStation Portal with the Nintendo Switch OLED. I have the Nintendo Switch OLED in white, I guess like the standard OLED edition if you will, and then obviously the PlayStation Portal. Now, I don't want to say it's a big difference, but it is there. You can definitely see the size difference. Now, I mean, with the Switch, the very iconic Joy-Con look, I actually don't prefer the Joy-Con controllers that much, and I much rather use the DualSense style setup just because they're not going to pop off if I'm gaming a little bit too hard, which has happened with the Switch. You know, you're not going to get that with this. This is literally put together. It's built as one unit, and I do appreciate that a little bit more over the Joy-Con style. And for most people who've done the research, they already know this. But for the people who have clicked on this video completely blind, the answer to this question is yes, you need a PlayStation 5 to run it. And yes, you need a really good internet connection. Personally, for me, I have run into some issues with some pixelation, some stutters, artifacts popping up. And just for reference, my Wi-Fi speed is 950 down and 950 up. But I've read a lot of threads and a lot of posts, and people's experiences do differ. But let's go ahead and take a look at the startup process for the PlayStation Portal. I actually have the device turned off right now, so I'm going to power it on in real time so you can see how quick it starts up. And there's the screen right there, 1080p. Not OLED, but it still is a pretty good looking display. I have the PS5 in rest mode, I believe, right now, and it is plugged into my TV. I know some people have discussed the possibility of the HDMI port being plugged out, and that could actually help with, I guess, the overall experience with the PlayStation Portal. And I'm watching my PlayStation turn on right now. Connecting the PS5 there. It does take a second from what I've noticed, but okay, ready to play. Press X, and then it shoots you into the home screen, and there we have it. Sorry for the bit of silence there. I was just trying to show you guys in real time how this actually boots up. I wasn't trying to edit it in any way to make it seem like that isn't the true experience of it booting up. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. But yeah, then you are right here in your screen. I do know some people have discussed the possibility of the television being off as well, that could also help, since it's not driving a full television as long, you know, as well as doing this. I know with some people who have like 4K televisions that are 120 hertz, like the LG and the Samsungs, that could be an issue, but I've seen people debunk that but also talk about it as well. So I think it just depends on personal preference. I mentioned just moments ago that there are a couple of hacks that you can use for the PlayStation Portal to get a better and more stable connection. I've only tried one so far, and that is removing the HDMI cable from my television and just running it that way. That way the PlayStation 5 isn't powering on my TV and there isn't a signal going to my television while also running the PlayStation Portal. I've also gamed on my Portal while having the HDMI cable in, and there really isn't a difference in my personal opinion, at least when I was playing. Some people also mentioned just turning your TV completely off. I even saw a thread, and I'll try and link all this stuff down below in the description, about how if you just mess around with your PlayStation 5 network settings, you can get a better and more stable connection. And the obvious hack for a more stable connection is just plugging in an Ethernet cable to your PlayStation 5 and running it wired. And I think in general, it's just recommended to do that no matter what, especially if you download a lot of games constantly and if you're playing online competitively. But like I brought up earlier, I don't have my PlayStation wired, it's running on Wi-Fi, and I've had a pretty good experience, minus some stutters for some games and minus some artifacts and pixelation, but it didn't happen constantly. I even went on Tekken 8 online, not ranked, just very quick, fun match, and I was able to do it. But again, my internet is 950 down and 950 up. For anybody lower than that, your experiences may vary, and people with the same speed as mine, your experiences may vary. The speakers on here aren't good, but they're also not really horrible either. They're just mid, very middle of the road. And honestly, I probably would have appreciated more of a iPad Pro kind of setup. 2 speakers on the top, 2 speakers on the bottom. I think that would have been cool. It would have been more immersive, at least in my personal opinion, especially when like you're laying on your bed and you have the Portal right in front of your face and you're gaming. But enough of me talking. I'll go ahead and give you a sound test right now.
Yeah, every day I do this, never feel loose. And when I get up in the game, y'all improve. A real problem, but I solve them all facts proof. And if you think I'm going forward, then you talking fool. Yeah, y'all wanna win, let me spin, boy. I'm done side, I'm super fly like I'm hanging off the rim, boy. I've been winning for my kinfolk, and I put on for my city from the intro. Let's go.
The battery life on this though is pretty damn amazing. I actually haven't had to really charge it yet. It is running really low and I will need to charge it soon, but the fact that I've had this for a couple of days and I haven't had to charge it is pretty cool in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't been gaming on this day and night. I've been turning it on, messing around online, and then just playing a couple of fighting games offline, and then just throwing it back on my nightstand and then picking it up again later in the day. So if you were to put some hours into this, obviously you can drain the battery a lot quicker, but again, I haven't actually had to charge it, and I think that's pretty dope. I really can't complain about the battery life at all, and it makes sense considering you're not really downloading games, you're not really onboarding or site loading stuff. Like, this is literally just a remote play device, so it makes a lot of sense for the battery life to not really be as impacted as you think it would. I know the other big question is, how is this when it comes to traveling? And I personally don't have any flights coming up until July. A lot of my traveling is later in the year, so I haven't had the chance to travel out of state with this. I've messed around with it outside for a little bit and it works fine from what I know of. I completely forgot to check the speed test to where I was at though, so I can't really back up the numbers, but it worked fine and it was okay. There was a little bit more pixelation. That's where I ran into the artifacts and stuff a little bit more, but I was able to get the games up and running. If you are going to be traveling for like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks on end and you're going to be gone for a minute, then I would suggest maybe if you can try using Ethernet and having your PlayStation 5 wired. I think that could probably help you a lot. But again, I've read some posts where people have talked about the fact that they've had their PlayStation 5 on Wi-Fi, they traveled and it was okay. So I think it varies on experience, but if I was a betting man, I would feel safer just using it wired if I was going to be gone for a while and I was going to be completely out of state. And I keep mentioning remote play. So if you don't know what that is, that's essentially an app that allows you to play your console from pretty much anywhere you go. It's been advertised on your phone, you can play it on your iPad, you can play on your computer. I remember using remote play years ago. It's nothing new. I will say though, this is probably the best experience of remote play that I have had, and I've seen others say this, but I really don't know if it's a placebo effect. So you have to ask yourself, who is this device for? I've seen some people argue it's probably for the dads in the world. The dads who have to watch the kids, who have to pick the kids up from school. They want to take their catalog with them. They want to play their Sony games. That makes sense. They can't stay in one place in the room. They can't sit in front of their television. So that makes sense. But I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'm probably going to return this. It's not because I hate it. It's not even because I dislike it. I actually think it's a pretty cool product. I just don't think it fits me right now. And personally, if I kept it, it would probably collect dust, and I'm just being completely honest. I live in an apartment and my girlfriend's gone most of the day at work, so I pretty much have the TV to myself and I can play whenever I want. We also have a TV in the bedroom where she can watch TV if I really want to hog the living room television and play my PlayStation 5. Plus, with the 4K LG television at 120 Hz, I'm having a better experience there anyways. So personally for me, it doesn't really work out, but if you own a PlayStation Portal, let me know down below in the comment section why you kept it and what keeps you drawn to it, and if you returned it, why did you return it? I want to hear everyone's thoughts. I'm open to y'all's comments. Like this video and share it with your friends, and I hope I was able to help you in any way when it comes to purchasing the Portal. But subscribe, that really helps the channel, guys, and I will talk to y'all next time.